Hey everybody, Brandon from the Today's Good, coming at you for the first time in quite a while, and I'm going to call today's episode Breaking the Silence. Again, Brandon from the Today's Good. All right, so as our close followers would know that we've been a little MIA, I don't think I've done a just me recording in a couple months. It's definitely been quite a while. It was back in December, if not even November. We've been on hold a little bit too with the Justin series, Justin having the baby, and then weather and him being in the collision business has caused a lot of time restraint on him, and life has gotten a little chaotic. So, like I said, I'm going to call this Breaking the Silence, and we're recording today on the 25th of January, which is a special day. It's obviously the birthday of Wyatt from Wyatt's Warriors. It's called they call it Warrior Day. Everybody does something kind. Everybody does everything they can to make people feel important. Maybe people that are struggling mentally. It obviously is suicide prevention with Wyatt coming from suicide. And I started this day off feeling like I didn't have anything to give to anybody. I've just been in a funk, a lot of things. I'll be honest, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from the whole situation that I've been going through. I'm exhausted career-wise. I'm exhausted kind of all over the place. And it's put me into this funk. And this question has been brought up a lot with a lot of different guests and different episodes with me is it okay to be in a funk? And I've always given the answer, yes. Funk, it's going to happen. Life happens. Things happen. People get tired. It's if we stay in that funk or not. And unfortunately, I've stayed in the funk. And I've allowed myself to do that. And so with my day starting, knowing it's Warrior Day and all of these things, and I can't find it in me. Right after I wake up, I get a call from a good buddy that I haven't seen since 2021. And this was a very, very good friend of mine. I worked with him for years, day in, day out. And actually, side by side for a long time. And he just called to ask if he could stop by. And he stops by and we sit down and we're talking. And he's a little exhausted right now, too. He's going through some stuff career-wise. Got laid off with a big company that he's got a very good job, but hours are being cut. And it's financially putting some strain on the family. And we're talking about that, and we're talking about both looking at career stuff, jobs and things, and we both come from the same industry, and it's a struggle right now, and we're both just kind of in a panic mode of what do you do, what's next, and we sit down and we just start talking, and it was like old days. Like I said, I haven't seen him in 2.5 years, and he's obviously missed a lot. He's missed a lot, and he feels guilty for that, and he shouldn't. And as we're talking, and we just start reminiscing and just hanging out, I start noticing, okay, I'm feeling better than I have in quite a while. And he stays for quite a while, a lot longer than I thought he would. And then I ended up having to go help a buddy and go move some stuff with the truck, and we go back to his house to drop it off, and his wife, it was like an hour and a half before I had Kaden, and an hour and a half before his wife came home, and we just got to sit down and talk, and we got to reminisce and bullshit and talk about life and talk about stress and anxiety and depression, and he's got a baby coming here in a few weeks, and that's obviously overwhelming, and it was just good. We sat and we talked, and I left there and I felt even better. Then I got home and I had Caden right away, and I got to spend my night with Caden, and that obviously was even better. And then I get home, I realized I have a text message from Riley Cole, which we've had on a previous episode, and I haven't talked to Riley in quite a while, and we just start having a conversation, and she asked me how I am, and honestly, I just say I'm fine, making it through, and more or less surviving, not living, is exactly how she said it to me, and I say, yeah, same thing. Well, as I start thinking about this, I tell myself, I'm asking myself, why am I in this funk? Why can't I get out of this funk? And I have been asking myself this for quite a while. And I haven't been able to come up with the answer. I just keep giving myself an excuse. I'm tired from this. I'm tired from that. I'm overwhelmed with the not seeing Caden and the divorce and still not being divorced and all of those things. And it's just excuse after excuse. But I can't. They've become excuses. They're reasons to an extent, but they've now become an excuse because I've allowed myself to stay there. And having all of this interaction I had today and people I hadn't seen in a while and getting to hang out with good buddies and it being Warrior Day, I was like, it just felt good that on this day, just to spend this time with these two people and for them to break the silence of me being silent to them and not hanging out with people. And I mean, it's kind of what the day's about, is checking on your friends, letting people know they're important, talking about your life, talking about depression, stress, anxiety, and all those things. And it wasn't even done intentionally. These guys didn't even know of what that day is, or they're not from around that Manchester area. And it just happened. Nobody set it up. They called me. I just happened to have to move things. And it was a good reminder that the day is what we make it. Life is what we make it. Where we are is where we make it. The rut that we're in, the downfall we're on, the rise that we're at, the whatever it is, we make that. We've talked about that. We relate that back to you write your own story and the chapters and the pages. And I can't tell you why I haven't been able to break the funk yet again. But I can tell you is I'm going to force myself out of it. And you have to sometimes just do that. It doesn't just happen for you. And that's why a recording is happening right now, because I have used the Today's Good in doing these episodes and looking like a fool and admitting all these things and doing all that, yes, for the sake, hopefully, that it gets in front of the right person. It changes somebody's situation and maybe changes the life. But also it's for me. It's accountability for me. And if I'm using that as accountability and I'm using the Today's Good to keep me going and keep my drive going and keep myself above water when it comes to the situation I'm in and all the things, why have I chosen not to do it? Why have I chosen to take my accountability and what I use to hold myself accountable and put it aside? I can tell you a story. I have obviously the podcast studio in the house, and it's changed a few times from the basement, and we were even in the garage for a while, and then it finally went to the office. And I have been noticing that I'm taking things throughout the house that I need to put somewhere and set somewhere and get out of my way. And I just keep setting it on the podcast table, and I keep setting it in the podcast room. And where do you put things to get them out of the way? Space that you're not living in and space you're not using, right? And it's like, how has the podcast and how has my accountability come to the point that I'm stacking this room full of stuff when that's where I should spend time? I should be in there. My office is in there. My work stuff is in there. My computers are in there. And the studio set. And I am literally recording right now in my living room because I went in there and I'm like, I really need to do something after the day I've had and it being Warrior Day and all this. But it was overwhelming to clean everything up around it. So I literally drug it out, and here we are sitting in my living room. You're sitting on a kitchen table right now on the computer, and my microphone's on a kitchen table, and my studio soundboard is on the armrest of the couch. But cleaning that room up and finding that back was not what was important today. It was getting a recording and finding that accountability back. And that room is going to get cleaned back up in this next week. And I hope to have some podcasts set up. I sent some messages out tonight. Definitely Justin and I will be getting back together. Justin reached out to me a couple weeks ago and wanted to get together last week. And then we had the weather and he had to shut the business down for a couple days. And I'm sure obviously being in Collision, he shut down for a couple days and we have all that weather. They're super busy. So that will be coming back. Justin has, like I said, reached out now since the baby and we'll get back on that kick. But also I reached out to another good buddy of mine that we have talked about doing some episodes with, or an episode at least, and then spiraling off that episode to do what we have talked about in the past, which is Kids Meet Cops, which stems from the Comer episode. We want to set up a program where it's you come to a location and cops have different booths set up. You get to meet cops. You get to see, they may have different presentations at each booth. It kind of like a touch a truck event, but with cops. And that stemmed from us talking about our past and his past and him getting in trouble and overcoming that. And ever since he has overcome that, now he's always wanted to, since then, start this program where kids meet cops and kids see cops is a good thing and a resource, I guess. And I was so excited about that came from that Comer episode. And then we had the Jeff Johnston reached out to me, which, if you guys don't know, started Living Undeterred, which is a big nonprofit for mental health and sobriety. And Jeff told me to reach out after the first of the year so we can get together. And it's now taken me 25 days, but I reached out and we're going to get together in February, which is a big deal to me. He's a very professional guy in the business of mental health and sobriety, and his nonprofit is very successful. And so I've put all that back together. And my point of all of this is breaking the silence is I've been quiet. I have been in a different place. And I'm okay. I'm just in a funk. I'm in my own head. I'm in the house with the curtains closed and not letting light in and whatnot. But I'm okay. And I'm beyond if I wasn't okay, not reaching out, whatever. But this goes back to suicide. And this is a big talk about suicide is quiet is usually not good. And if people are quiet, check on your friends, right? You've heard that. Like if there's silence, check on your friends. And like I said, I'm not at that level and that's not what I'm saying, but these people coming present today and Jesse stopping by and sitting and talking with Dakota and the text from Riley, and that picked me up. And it shows the importance of checking on your friends to me. If people are quiet, there's usually a reason, right? And I went from a month-long slump of just meh to today I'm back sitting here and like I said, 2 months, but I'm sitting here doing a recording and breaking that silence all off of just being checked in, people coming by. And Jesse wasn't necessarily he wasn't even checking in. Dakota wasn't checking in. But that communication and that friendship and the conversation brought me there without being checked in on. And it makes me realize the importance of checking in on your friends and people that are going through stuff. And even if you don't know if people are going through stuff, if people are quiet and they're somewhere else, and just sending that message, hey, how have you been? Everything okay? Whatever it is. And I hope people continue to do this. This goes with Warrior Day. It is important. It is important for mental health is a big thing right now, a very big thing, and it's not getting any better. I think it's it obviously it's been around a long time, forever, but since COVID, it's escalated. It got bad during COVID and it just keeps going and going. And I want to push, if you're not okay, if you're struggling, reach out to the people maybe that you aren't hearing from. I can tell you right now, there's plenty of people in my life that I've lost and no longer have communication with due to addiction, due to my divorce, due to everything else, due to whatever it is, unfortunately, I've lost a lot of people. And that's some of those people I've allowed to go on my own, and some people they've left and I didn't want them to. But also, if they're not there and they're not positive and they're not putting positivity into your life, they're causing stress, they're causing anxiety, they're talk somewhere else, but different conversation here. Like, those people are not important. And unfortunately, I've had one of those people recently in my life that I was spending a lot of time with, and things were great, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happened, to be honest with you. It is what it is, but communication was broke. There was anxiety, there was stress between the two of us, and then all of a sudden, having conversation with other people about choices I've made and whatever. And so that was negativity to me. And when that negativity comes, like, I am not okay with that. I'm not going to entertain it. That's a boundary of mine. If there's a struggle or there's a conversation that needs to be had, that conversation needs to be had with me. It doesn't need to be had with other people around you. And I want to caution people to, you may be upset about decisions people are making, or maybe upset about something someone's done. Have that conversation with that person. Don't go around conversating with other people. Oh, that was stupid, and whatever it is, or however you're doing that. That's not healthy for anybody. Now, things have been said and conversation is had and shit has been talked to other people. Well, why would anyone want that in their life? If you're willing to go talk shit about me or someone else to other people, nobody should have that in their life. And even if things are amended, right, and I'm sorry, whatever, you make up your friends again, that has still been done. You've still talked bad and portrayed the other person in a way. And that I don't have any patience for. And like I said, that's a boundary of mine. I used to let people walk all over me. I used to let people do whatever and whatever, make up, hug, we're friends, and we go right back to the way it is. And that's not the way I am anymore. Not unfortunately. It's actually fortunate finding those boundaries. But nobody knows what people are going through. Nobody knows why decisions maybe are made. Decisions I've made that from your side may look like, oh, that's a bad decision, or they're being stupid. But if you don't sit down and have that conversation, why did that decision happen? You may not be seeing what that decision is. So I'm going to push this hard too. Have the fucking conversation with the people that you should have the conversation with, not with the people you shouldn't, not with people even that you shouldn't. Like, what I'm saying is, yes, there's people that could affect me negatively if you're talking to them in a negative way. But even if it's people that it's not going to affect me negatively if you're talking to them, why is that conversation being had somewhere else, right? Hit it head on. Put your head down. Go into it. Have the conversation that needs to be had. Shut your damn mouth. Don't say things, do things that are going to cause animosity later, even if things are amended. Like, even if that was to be amended, which it won't, because, like I said, that's negativity that you're putting into my life and have. And if you're willing to do it in the past, I'm not willing to even go forward because it will happen again. But if it is amended, that doesn't go away. You don't forget that. You don't forget that people are willing to have those conversations behind your back and do whatever. And it causes a downhill. Now, yes, you've lost a good friend, but now other people are thinking what they're thinking. And there's a lot of people, and I've gotten to the point in my life where if you want to think what you don't think, you think what you don't think. I don't care. From the outside in, my story is fucked. Decisions I've made are fucked. But also, have you lived it? Have you been there? Have you seen what things have led to those things and what's caused that and what's actually behind the door of what's happening now, and amending yourself and forgiving yourself and doing all the right things? You don't know. You have no idea where those decisions are coming from and where they did come from, and like I said, what's being done. Don't judge other people from the outside. Don't cause stress. And this goes back to being kind. Warrior Day. That's what Why It's Warriors is about, is being kind to the people around you, treating the people around you with respect and love and care, and not putting people in a bad place mentally. And that's all I've got, I guess, on that subject. And I didn't mean to ramble on about that, but it is important to me. It is important that you stick by the people you should stick by. Not everybody around you is always going to make perfect decisions. Not everybody around you is going to make decisions you always agree with. Understand their decisions. And you don't even have to understand. Listen. Why? Why did it happen? Work through those things. That's what friends are about. That's what people are about. That's what family are about. That's what relationships are about. But be careful how you do that, and do it in the right order. And just remember, you never know what doing those things does to that other person. What that Facebook comment does, what that bullying in groups does to people, what talking about the kid at school does, what talking about the person at work that whatever it is. You don't know what the repercussions are towards that other person, and where that's mentally putting somebody else, and what stress you're causing on their life. And what's the point? If you don't want to be present, you don't want to be in that person's life or in the situation, why even talk about it? You move the fuck on with your life. I move on with my life, right? It's going to do me no good to talk whatever I'm going to talk over here. It's not going to do you good. It's not going to do me good. So, like I said, be kind. Think about the people around you. But also, on the whole other subject of starting was, if you're in a funk, you're in a place, find your accountability. Is that working out? Is that communicating with your friends? Is that getting out of your house and just going somewhere? But don't forget your accountability. You need to hold yourself accountable. You're going to find ruts. You're going to find depression. You're going to find hard times in life. The best thing you can do is to have things in place that hold you accountable to stay mentally where you should, and to keep going and keep growing and getting through those things. That's literally the definition of accountability, is holding yourself accountable to staying on that path. So find what your physical accountability is and what you're doing to hold yourself accountable, and do it. Don't put it aside. Don't stack your podcast room full of shit. Don't close the curtains and block the light out every day. Don't not communicate with the outside world. If you need resources to help you get out of it, sometimes, and there's many people that can't get out of it, and they're doing the things and they don't have the strength. They maybe don't have a way to. The situation that has them there doesn't stop, just kind of like mine. It keeps going and going and going, and I've just gotten better at finding my way out of it. And you get tired. If you need to talk to somebody, you need to find a counselor. That's okay. You need to find a therapist. You need to take anxiety medication. You need to take depression medication. It's always been looked down on for so long. And if you need those things, you need them. There's nothing to be embarrassed about if you need to take an anxiety medication. Most of the people in this world should probably be on anxiety medication or depression medication or whatever, or go to a therapist. I've talked about this in the past. I don't believe there's anybody in this world that shouldn't go to therapy. You can always take something from a therapist. You can always take something from talking about your life with a person that is outside of your life. Somebody who doesn't have the back knowledge, somebody who doesn't have the emotions, somebody that everybody could grow from it. Unfortunately, because of COVID and the growth in mental health and everything else, even before that, it was hard to find one. It was hard to get into one. It's months and months. And then you go talk to someone and you just don't click with that person. Now you're waiting months and months again. I don't see one because it's been too hard to find one. It's been too hard to find one that I click with, but I've also used resources around me that I have other than that of the podcast and friends and whatever it may be. But I've got things in line. But if you need a therapist, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. Like I said, that medication, if you're struggling, it's all right to struggle. It's not okay to keep struggling. That's when you should be embarrassed. You shouldn't be embarrassed to use the resources and the things in this world that we need to not struggle. The embarrassment should come from if you continue to struggle and choose not to use those. So keep your head up, break your silence, find your accountability, and check on your friends. Send that message. And love someone tomorrow. Make someone feel important. Share the love. Peace. Again, Brandon from the Today's Good, breaking the silence. Richard. Fat guy in a little coat. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I've missed the intro song because it just picks me up and I really miss doing that. Richard.